Yeah. Hey, welcome. All right, we are also, because this talk is about social media, we're also doing Facebook Live. But we're keeping that tip-top secret because we wanted to have people come to this audience. Oh, you hear me? All right, take it away, Matt.
All right, so first and foremost, we want to thank the private practice section for having this room, having this space, having this venue. So first and foremost, thank you to them. And just going to do a quick thermostat check. My name is Matt Vegas. You may know me as the host of the Capable Body podcast, but I just want to check with everyone here. Are you ready to hear from the panel of leaders in social media about the do's and don'ts?
Yes, yes!
All right, so go ahead and give a quick introduction. We're going to go down the line starting with Bree.
All right, so for me, I've been using social media for about 2 years, really strongly the past year, in order to just kind of engage with people, kind of just get information out there to people, and really just kind of grow my business.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Wyrock. I'm a physical therapist in Minnesota. I work in a private practice up in a rural area, and my big passion and what I utilize social media for is for advocacy. So I'm very passionate about increasing access to physical therapy services for our patients. And so I utilize a lot of social media platforms as well as blog writing to inform the public about what physical therapy can offer them and to ensure that our patients have access to our services.
Yes.
I am Felicia Wena. I'm a doctor of physical therapy student out of Houston, Texas, but I go to University of St. Augustine for health science at their Austin, Texas campus. So I personally use Facebook and social media in just different realms so I can better educate students on how they can be involved. Like last year, educating people about CSM and coming out to things. And currently, I also consult for private practices solely to help them with their digital marketing and things like that.
Awesome. Hi, I am Jenna Cantor. I am a student, just like Felicia. We have 2 professionals and 2 students here, which is a
student.
Yes. Yeah, notice it's separated. Yes. And I use social media for advocacy, just like Stephanie. I also use it because I want to work with dancers in the future. So I have been using it in advance. So all my posts regarding dance are about giving and trying to attract people with what I'm trying to bring to me, basically. I said that in the strangest way, but you get it. Yes!
More guests coming in.
Yes, more guests coming in.
To be on time is to be late.
Basically, the goals
Welcome.
of tonight with this session is for you to be able to leave with some tangible, actionable items that you can go out and do with the do's and don'ts. Go over a little bit of the pros and cons and getting over your fear. So quick thermostat check. How many of you happen to have a Facebook business page?
Yes. Oh, you do? Oh, I didn't know that.
Or
It's Alex Anchor.
Twitter,
Tweet.
Instagram.
IG.
All right. So we will take it away, starting with the first question for Bree, going down the line. So, what were your reasons for using social media in the profession of physical therapy?
So for me, what I wanted, kind of my goals with my social media and just with my business in general is to educate people on health and wellness, how to prevent injury, not necessarily I don't want to necessarily fix everybody. I want them to know how to prevent injury so they're not getting hurt, so they can just live a good, healthy lifestyle. And so that's what I use most of my info for, is just really teach that injury prevention, I teach that nutrition side of things, and just really try to get that information out there for people.
So I started using social media when I became a PT student, and I used it to connect with other PT students. I came to my first CSM by myself, but ended up hanging out with lots of different people because I had made friends through Twitter and was able to meet them while I was at CSM. And so that's how I got started on social media. Currently, what I use it for, as I indicated previously, is I mostly use it to help advocate for our patients. I do blog writing on advocacy and different bills that are going through Congress and going through our state legislature in Minnesota to try to make sure that people are informed about what we can offer as physical therapists. And I also want other PTs and PTAs to understand why policy is important. We cannot do what we want to do as physical therapists or physical therapist assistants if the policies are not in place. And so sometimes there's a tendency to get frustrated with politics and to withdraw from being politically active. And it's really important in our profession, because our policy is, our profession is dictated by policy, to make sure that we stay involved. And so that's primarily what I utilize social media for, but it's a great outlet to meet different professionals and to really collaborate on different projects.
So the way I utilize social media primarily is to just share about the student experience. I mean, now we are a doctorate programmer for the past decade, so some things are a little bit different. There are multifaceted, different forms of schooling, whether it is a hybrid program, which I'm in, where I have an online component and then I go to Austin for the hands-on component, or whether you're doing a full-time program, or whether you have a program that has study abroad. We are just so different varieties of our different physical therapy programs. So just sharing my experience in my hybrid program, attending conferences so I could continue to learn and grow and be involved in our profession. And also just to help out the private practice owners, because they're overwhelmed with enough stuff. The physical therapist that I work for, she's been working for about over 43 years, just like Carolyn, and just like Carol. And she's like, Felicia, that's not my avenue, but go ahead and do it. So, yeah.
I originally got into being on social media because I come from a theater background and I wanted to be the center of attention. So so I just kept doing that. And as I started to grow in PT school and started to develop a new passion for physical therapy, so did my posts. And I went from thinking, I don't care about service learning. I don't care about advocacy. I remember people saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna go because we have these great volunteer opportunities and stuff. And I was like, okay. And growing to now, that's truly what, oh, is it off?
No, just.
Oh, you're liking our own
Kelly,
Facebook Live?
Hey, Kelly. She's an awesome private practice owner, and she's opened up a new practice. Go, Kelly. Okay, refocus.
And now I use it as a platform to help other people learn as I learn how to advocate, because I don't know everything. Oh my gosh, I remember when I first even started advocating, I looked up just what's the tree, so I could know who's like the daddy and the kids in just New York in each of the little sections. And it looked like the muscle manual. And I was like, there's no way. And so now I've been using it as a way for me to slowly dissect and also share what I learn as I go. And then, as I said before, of course, I want to work with dancers. That's my background. And I want to help out a lot of dancers who are not part of the union, not part of equity, and they do it getting access in these random states when they're on tour, however you want to pronounce it, to make things more available for them online, so that way they can more readily get the help they need.
Boom. All right, so thank you so much, leaders. Next question. Y'all ready for the next question? I mean,
yes.
Okay, they can't see the camera. Everyone's awake.
I know,
it's not like PT school. Okay, so next question, starting with Stephanie. What fears did you have to face when you were stepping out there onto social media, and how did you get past it?
So I also run all the social media pages for the education section of the APTA. And originally when I started that was just something that kind of fell into my lap. The president of the section, Gina, who's a really big mentor of mine, said, we need a younger generation in our section. Do you want to just run all of our social media pages that we haven't utilized in years? And I was like, well, I'm not a member of the section. She's like, I'll pay for you to be a member for your first year, and you can run all of our pages. And we were able to grow membership by over 30% the year after we started social media, specifically within the younger population, so the millennial population. And I know that when I initially started that, I was very fearful of the feedback that I would get from some of the older members, because the education section is a traditional membership, and I really wanted to make sure I was serving the membership the way that they wanted, and I wanted to make sure to communicate to people what the education section stands for. So a lot of people think that the section is only for academicians, but really it's for everyone, because as physical therapists and physical therapist assistants, we all educate our patients and the public about their condition and what they do. And so the motto of the education section is we are all educators. And my goal with that was to make sure that that came across clearly. So that was one fear that I had initially when I started doing marketing for a specific section of the APTA. Personally, when I started writing blogs and when I started posting some of my own personal opinions backed by research was, are people going to criticize my opinions, and are people going to think badly of me because of the opinions I hold? And is my research good enough that it's going to be able to uphold any type of debate that may come on social media? And so that was the initial fear that I had to get over. And it was pretty difficult at first as far as being able to put yourself out there. But I've always kind of been a risk taker, so I really surrounded myself with some good mentorship to really help me through that. And I have, you know, every so often it still kind of makes me a little nervous, but I always double check and triple check my research and my citations to make sure that I'm good to go. And I have gotten over that fear. And so if you are interested in posting about your passion in physical therapy to try to move the profession forward, really try to surround yourself with some good mentors that are going to encourage you and not put you down. It's always good to get critical feedback for the content that you're putting out, but making sure that that feedback is adding to your ability to give information to others. So I think that that was a really important part about me getting over that fear.
Are we gonna go like boom, boom, boom?
We should.
Boom.
Oh.
All right. Okay, so what was a fear of mine in regards to initially getting on social media?
Yes.
Let's see. Dun, dun, dun.
She has no fears.
I'm a human being. Based on my cell phone provider losing connection. No, but really. So that actually has happened to me. I was on a Facebook Live in Kroger's. I was like, duh, and it was like buffering. I was like, okay, I'm waiting. And I was like, oh, okay, time to go. But that's one thing, but it's not that serious because it'll come back on. And I'm going to say my cell phone provider because I don't want them to be mad. But I would say, I mean, just similar to what Stephanie said, the criticism. But you come to a place in your life and you're like, okay, I just don't care. So I'm going to go ahead and share my gift and my skill set to others. Some people may vibe with it. Some people may not. I think it all goes back to what is your heart? What is your intention with posting your social media? So for me, it's sharing about the physical therapy student experience. I've had classmates that are like dreading physical therapy school because of just physical therapy school. But just the different things of it, whether it's the price, whether it's our school and how much it is, whether it is stressing out for the boards. But I tell them not to stress because Cal Rice got a good program to make sure I get a
Yes.
So, but seriously, because it's we should have this anxiety as we're being students. And I'm saying that, but I have it too because I think about finances in school and paying for that. Like, okay, wait a second. The same conversation we hear when people are like, it's now a doctorate program, we're paying this much, and then we start out coming out in school making this much, like that continuous cycle that people talk about. So there are some lighthearted things in regards to physiotherapy as us being students, and just kind of going forth and doing that. But my fear was a little bit of the criticism. So I would say that, going back to the question.
Yeah. Dumb. I don't want to look dumb. I'm not a person who is always smooth with my words. And even as I speak, I tend to have regular brain farts or brain toots, whatever's appropriate for Facebook Live. Neither. It's fine. But I was very worried about that. And I would say even more so, it's being misinterpreted. I'm extremely self-aware. I have a lot of energy. And I was so afraid that my personality, that can be a lot to take at first initial meeting, could be the same issue online. And even then, so if I come across fine on social media, if I meet you in person and then you go woof, and to have some sort of disconnect with what I can bring to the table and how I can help and create a family, with the people I connect with. So that has always, it still is a concern. Coming to CSM that was a big concern, but I care too much to make it stop me.
Thank you.
Okay, Bree?
So for me, it was the fear of perfection. I was the one who, going through school, it's like my papers were written like a month ahead of time because I needed like a week break to like reread it and then like edit like 5 times. So for me to actually like put something on there that I couldn't like read several times or edit, especially when I went live, like it was just be out there once it was out there. And I could delete it, but I didn't. But for me, it was just that fear of perfection of not being able to just edit it like I wanted it to, and if I misspoke, it was already, it was out there. If I just did something wrong, whatever. So, and just to get over that, I'm like, I literally just had to start doing it. Like, I just like hit button and let's go with it. And just over time, I got more natural with it and got smoother with it. And now, looking back and looking at where I am now, it's like that getting over that fear of perfection is like, you're human. People make mistakes, and so now it's just I feel like I just kind of, people relate to me because I just speak my mind or speak whatever I'm talking about, and if I mess up and correct myself or whatever it be. So yeah, it's just mainly it's like just get started, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
That's true. And inside joke, last year at CSM, Bree knew she had one Moto fan. Yeah. All right, so next question, starting with Felicia, which social media platform do you use and why?
Okay, so the social media platform that I like to use the most, I would say is Facebook, just because it is, well, for the most part, it is your name. Some people are kind of different, but we have different handles with Twitter or Instagram or whatever else is out there, but with Pinterest. But with Facebook, it's typically your name, because back in the day, Facebook was just for people who had a .edu email address. So it was just for college students. So it's your name, so it's a little bit more personal. So for me, I would say Facebook. The reason why is because that personal connection.
Also, I'd like to add that back in the day, you ranked your top favorite friends, which I really enjoyed.
Are you talking about MySpace?
No, you did that on
Who remembers MySpace? Who had the MySpace? Who had
Yes,
who had
MySpace.
music?
I think I still have my MySpace
Whoa.
page. I never know.
also on Facebook.
I don't know. I'll look.
Tom's out there. He was my first friend.
For me, I use a lot of them, but the one I'm going to focus on today, I think I still have MySpace. The one I'm going to focus on today is YouTube. For me, as a performer, that was my background, I actually posted several videos of me performing, and that actually helped me get consistent work. So while I am currently most active on Facebook on a regular basis, I'm always posting the same content onto YouTube because it worked. It worked. I literally posted this one. I have shared this online. Try to find it. It's great. It's Jenna Cantor, Ultimate Fall. And it got me like regular work. It's of me like coming forward, feel the fire. Ooh. Like, oh, it's so good. And just like go like, just the first like 5 seconds. Oh my God, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's great.
So I utilize pretty much all the platforms we're discussing today.
MySpace.
Besides that one. Not that one.
I'm gonna be mad.
But I'm going to talk about Instagram, since I'm primarily the one that uses it between all of us. So with Instagram, I like that it's just very simple, and I can still, I'll still link my Facebook stuff to it, so people can still find all my videos and everything that I do on Facebook on Instagram, but I can, it's just a lot more, like, on Instagram, you can use the hashtag, so if you know how Instagram works and you know which hashtags are being searched, you can really get your name and your word out there. Because if you stay with those top hashtags, you're going to be found constantly, and you're going to get more followers constantly. And then as those followers grow, it's just your voice and your message grow.
So I mostly utilize Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also a platform which a lot of people haven't heard of, called academia.edu. I post all of my publications on there and my resume. It's a really great website. But the one that I primarily focus on is Twitter. I really like Twitter because you can say something very concisely, and the information doesn't last a long time. A tweet, the average lifespan of a tweet is about 30 minutes. So I kind of enjoy that aspect of it. You really have to keep up to date with it, and it's something that is more interactive. I think people interact with each other more. That's originally where I started and where I met a lot of the colleagues that are now my friends on social media and here at the physical therapy conferences. So first we became friends on Twitter, met in person, started becoming friends in real life, and then we became friends on Facebook, which I really appreciate the platform of Twitter because of the interaction between other people.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so next question, starting with Jenna.
Oh, yeah,
what social media strategy has been the best for you?
Okay. On YouTube specifically, it's anytime I start a video, I say who I am and what I'm about. It sounds so simple, but if you don't do that, then you're just this talking head, and people might recognize your face if you happen to be in Texas or whatever state they live in, and that's not really going to help you in the long term. And also, even if your name is written down, it just helps. It's another way, just kind of like, I may not own a Swiffer, but I know what a Swiffer is, because I've heard it, and it's said at the beginning. The other thing for me is making it a how-to. It's something giving in nature. You're teaching something. Otherwise, if you're just talking about yourself, then, that's great. It feels good. But yeah, I think those would be the two biggest things. I could go off on a tangent. When we were discussing what to cover for each of these things, we're like, oh my gosh, I could talk forever. But I would say if I was going to be really specific on two things to take away, I would say those.
So one big change I made with Instagram maybe 3-4 months ago was I really focused on cleaning up my pictures and making them more professional looking. So I go into Canva for when I do every picture, I put my logo on it, I put a title on it. That way someone can actually just see the picture and know the basics of what that post is about before I've been reading it. So it automatically is grabbing people's attention to make them actually read it, look at it, and follow it. The other thing I do on there is I put I have several different Facebook groups I run, so I have those links all in my bio, and then every post I'm join me on Facebook at these groups. So it easily links back to all my other social media platforms by me doing that way.
And as far as what's been best for me has been Twitter. I have gotten a lot of opportunities through Twitter. So the employer that I'm currently employed with now, I messaged the CEO on Twitter, asked if we could meet at CSM because I was really interested in working for this company. And we hung out at CSM for 2 hours, talked about the vision, the mission, and the purpose of the existence of Rehab Authority, what I wanted to accomplish as a physical therapist, a young professional, what my goals were. And so after that 2-hour talk, after contacting somebody on Twitter, I ended up with my current job. I've been asked to be a reviewer for different journals through social media, which has been a really cool experience back when I was doing research as a student. I have had lots of opportunities for speaking engagements, and I've met a lot of different colleagues that have opened doors for me down the line. So I would say Twitter has been most effective for me as far as career advancement, but also in forming relationships. And that's what this profession is all about, is forming relationships with our colleagues, with patients, with the public. And I think that I'm seen more as a policy expert now based on what I've posted on Twitter and other social media platforms. And that has really helped me to be seen throughout the profession as somebody to listen to when it comes to policy. And I think that's really important for our patients.
I would say a strategy that has worked well for me, utilizing social media, is just sharing different areas of my life. So yes, I am Felicia, the physical therapy student, but I'm also Felicia, the godmother. And I post pictures of me and my 2 godsons, me chasing them down, me taking a picture of someone who, one of them, the youngest one, he broke the snow globe. I was like, oh, we're getting a Christmas tree. So things like that are about me, I share. Me towing my car, I share. But I would say, of course, use discretion, but allow yourself to show others that you are human. I get it. Instagram has these awesome and amazing filters that make it look so glam. It's very interesting because my sister's like, you didn't use a filter. I'm like, I have time. I just post it. But people just see people on social media like, oh my goodness, they're so polished, they're so this. We're human beings. We get our car towed when we have like a midterm the next day, which I did. But thankfully, my mechanic had Wi-Fi, so I was still studying. But those are just different avenues of yourself that you share. And it's actually something I would encourage, and I have encouraged some private practice owners, show what you guys are doing within your clinic. Show that you are a parent and you have kids and you're trying to multitask, having your own business and spending time with your kids, your grandkids. So just sharing more of yourself than just your professional polish. I'm a physiotherapist, but the different avenues that you are as well.
Awesome. And Bree, can you take the next question? What are some big mistakes that you made on social media that you don't want others to make?
So starting out, I was doing all of my Facebook Lives on my business page, and they weren't getting a lot of engagement just because I didn't have the followers there. And so, I would share them to my personal page, but with Facebook, it doesn't like the sharing stuff as much, and so it still doesn't get as much engagement. So once I started putting it on, going live on my personal page, and then sharing it elsewhere, it would get better engagement. Because then I can also share it to my groups, which the groups, they automatically kind of like notify people that there's a new post there, so they'll see it automatically. With that, my ultimate goal is to transition them back to my business page once that grows a little bit more. But yeah, up front, you really focus on getting that personal page built up and doing your lives there. Just get your name out there, get your brand out there, let them see who you are, be that person. That she was saying, like, just share your story, share your life, whether it be business, whether it be, like for me, I put a lot of my lifting and workout stuff up there, and it gets people to relate to me because, CrossFitters are my thing, and so they can relate and see that I'm legit, and I've got a ton of clients from that. Like, I had a competition. The next day I had some messaging me like, hey, I need help, so I get in. So, like, just be yourself, show people that you're human, and it's just what helps.
So my biggest mistake is when the Cubs lose a game and I'm mad, and then I post about it, and it doesn't look very good. I don't do that anymore. I don't post when I'm very emotional. That was definitely something I had to get over. I'm a very emotional sports fan, so that was initially one of my big mistakes when I started out as a PT student. When I started doing the education section Facebook page, one of the ideas I had is, let's have people who aren't education section members get to know who the leaders are in the education section and what different parts of the education section can offer other people. And so I ended up doing interviews over Google Chat. And the computer that I had at the time was not very good for doing face-to-face interviews. So I had my computer in front of me and my cell phone camera recording the computer screen in front of me, and it just was not good. So Richard Severin, actually, who many of you may know, messaged me on Facebook one day and was like, Steph, I really love what you're doing with the education section interviews. It's very innovative, but perhaps you should use a specific platform for your interviews. Here's a few suggestions that you could try. And so after consulting with the section and giving them my idea, they supported the funding to have access to those platforms. And we've been utilizing those platforms ever since then. And just the other day, I interviewed Jody Frost, who delivered the Sarasoli lecture today, which was a great lecture. And I had a lot of compliments at the meeting about how the social media page has really increased membership. It's really increased engagement. It's really gotten people to understand what the mission is of the section. As far as PTs and PTAs, we are all educators. And that has been really nice because Again, you want to brand yourself or the organization that you're working for as something very specific. And social media really allows you to be able to complete that branding in the proper way. And so those are probably the two biggest mistakes that I have made, and I have corrected them, which has very much helped with my goals and my mission.
Some mistakes I would say I've made with social media is typos, because I type really fast, talk fast and type fast. But typos, like, edit, fine, edit. Sometimes I would do a Facebook Live and not have a caption, but that's a no-no, as my mentor would say, have to have a caption. But, and I would also say, this is a big one that I really started to use a little bit more emotional intelligence with, but Facebook Live etiquette. I love Facebook Live, but that doesn't mean everyone else loves Facebook Live. Some people may be a little bit apprehensive or nervous, so while I'm doing Facebook Live, woo, hey, here are my classmates, and they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so. So I'm using a little bit more tactfulness with, sometimes I'll hit to someone, like Javier was like doing something, like, he's like, yeah. Oh, I was like, okay, so I turned it to him and I did a little interview with him. So a mistake for me is just Facebook etiquette. I mean, ensuring that when I do a Facebook Live, that I'm not like, hey, Kelly, how's your day? I'm like giving you a hint first, I'm going to come to you. But, or letting someone know before you press go. You can do that as well. But I would say that was it. Because I was so excited. And I was like, everyone else should be excited as well. But use some emotional intelligence with that.
I like that. For me, I would say giving. I would say I came from, as I've said a million times, theater before this. And with theater, when you are trying to get work, you're always sharing stuff about yourself. You're always showing your latest performance and everything. So you're just, it's a very me-oriented job. I mean, it is what it is. And in physical therapy, it is a giving job. And now that I'm about to graduate, I'm trying to get back my performance life and combine it with my physical therapy life. I mean, they're different, but but I'm still promoting these two worlds that are very, very important to me. But one is taking and the other one is giving. And for me, figuring out how to make them line up has been a real journey. And the way I have found a great solution is not that content that I'm putting on, it's giving to you. To each and every one of you. What are you posting? Have I liked? Have I interacted with what you're doing on Facebook, with what you're doing on Twitter? Am I paying attention to other people? Because honestly, that's where the relationships form. And it's so much more fun that way. Because then if I meet you in person and we start talking, I can actually interact with you more. The bond is just so much more real. And I've already put my stuff out there. I don't need to focus on that. I can now get outside of myself and develop these beautiful relationships. So now that I'm at CSM, I'm getting to meet all these magnificent human beings that I've gotten to know just through social media. So I would say just give. Think of it like a piggy bank. I believe it's from the book, I went through a big self-help book period of my life, 10, 15 years ago. I believe it's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he talks about a piggy bank. And you got to think about this exchange between people. And everybody has their own piggy bank and has a certain amount of money. And if I am going to give you, I'm just going to keep giving things to you, giving. Yes, you're welcome. I hope you get $1 soon. And I'm giving you money and stuff. And I can go for a while until I do have an end zone. The same goes the other way. So if I'm constantly asking and taking, they could run out. So it really needs to become an exchange. And the exchange starts with you giving right away. And honestly, you'll find on social media, it takes a long time to run out of money. Oh, I haven't hit it yet. It's awesome. So I would just say, focus on giving.
And I'd like to add something to that really quick. So I think especially if you come to a conference by yourself, or maybe you're new to conferences or new to becoming involved in the profession, interacting with other people on social media is really an effective way to make your experience better. Because if you can form relationships prior to coming to the conference, or even if there's somebody that you really admire that you want to meet in person at a conference, you can message them on Twitter or message them on Facebook and say, hey, I'd really like to meet you at CSM. Or you can see them walking down the hall and be like, oh my gosh, you're at Jenna Cantor. I know you from your Facebook Lives. Can we chat?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody really enjoys having that fangirl moment, whether they like to admit to that or not. When you are interacting with people or you really do admire somebody, that relationship that you have built or that interaction that started initially on social media really makes it a lot easier to talk to somebody in person. And so if you are maybe a little more introverted or a little more nervous to go up to somebody and introduce yourself, social media is really a great place to start, especially if you come to a conference where maybe you don't know a lot of people or you're not really sure how involved you want to get. So I just want to add that to what Jenna said.
I like that. She's my advocacy mentor, by the way.
All right, little thermostat check because I know it's getting late. How y'all doing?
I was like,
Any heads all been? No, we're good. Okay, so one more question, and then I will open it up to the floor. So start thinking of what questions you have now. Okay, so starting with Stephanie, how did you learn how to promote yourself on social media?
I think just observing how other people promoted themselves online. There's certain strategies that I like that people use, and there's certain strategies that I don't like that people use. And so observing how other people brand themselves, and I've done a lot of research on branding, and I have a lot of mentors that have helped me with social media branding, and always making sure that I'm focusing on what my ultimate purpose and mission is. If you're going to be effective on social media, you have to have a purpose in order for people to really buy into what you're saying. And so my purpose has always been about what is the big picture for the profession. I really want to be somebody that, 50 years down the line, people say, this thing has happened in physical therapy, and Stephanie Wyrock was one of the drivers for that. And that has really impacted patient care. That has really impacted where we are. And so that's my ultimate purpose and why I do it, because I want the profession to be the best that it can be. And so that has really helped with my branding. And along with that, I formed some really great mentorships and relationships with other people that have taught me a lot about how to brand in a way that will be aesthetically pleasing, as well as information pleasing to the audience that I really want to broadcast that purpose to.
And I would say I noticed that for me to better utilize social media, someone saw the skill set in me. They saw that I was okay with doing Facebook Lives, and I felt pretty comfortable doing it. So I was like, okay, let me go and just keep on doing it, GT. And it's sometimes you don't see the certain qualities within yourself. Like you're like, yeah, of course, I love doing photo editing. Like it's cool. Like I wish I could go to school for this versus physiotherapy. Joking, professor. But so it's like you have different skill sets that you may not even notice within yourself until someone else confirms that, and they push you and they keep pushing you. They're like, you're doing well. I mean, you have a natural gift for it. I think with social media, I get it nowadays. There's people who are digital marketers. There's people who have amazing funnels. Like it's so many different things. I don't know plugs. Plugs are good. But there's so many different skill sets and things with social media. Everyone doesn't have to be like a master social media guru. I think you need to find what skill set works well for you. I'm slowly getting into Twitter. I was totally about to say the Twitter, but
yes.
But I'm slowly getting into Twitter. But it's like find what works well for you, master that, and then transition to something else. Or let's say, because my private practice owner that I work for, she's 43 years plus in the game. She's like, I have no desire to learn social media, but nowadays, clearly, I think I need it because my patients are like, I want to write a review on your Facebook, and she's like, my what? This is my face. Do you need books? Right? I was like, oh my gosh, don't say that. But so it's like learning. Go ahead and do what you need to do with your skill set, but then learn the art and the power of outsourcing certain areas that need to be outsourced. Focus on your craft and allow someone else to focus on their craft, because it's a better way for you to work in your passion and work in your gift. And to add on about with Twitter, because you said something about conferences and allowing that to be a segue to interact with people. Last year, I went to the American Telemedicine Conference, which had like 2% physiotherapist there, but it was really good. And first time attending, I didn't know anyone, and someone kept saying, "Oh, Twitter's good for business to business, physio to physio, MD to MD. Like it's really good for that connection." In regards to like targeting audience, not so much, but it's really good for professionals to connect with each other. So like, okay, fine, let me go ahead and tweet. So I tweeted, I was like, first time attendee. And like, oh, come visit our booth. You're a first time attendee. Let's give you something for free. Someone was like, oh, you're a first time attendee. I was like, whoa, let me turn my Twitter off. But, which you can do. But it just shows you the power of what you could do by putting yourself out there, but being intentional with it. And that's because I took an advice from someone who was like, yeah, it's business to business. So if you want to meet colleagues there, go ahead and utilize it. And it was my first time at the conference. I was by myself, no one else from my school. So I was like, all right, let me see what this is. I mean, it's a telemedicine conference, so clearly everyone's on their phone. And I was like, okay, so let's see if this works. And it did in like literally 10 minutes. Kind of weird. And there's what is the pink socks trend? Does anyone know what that is? Pink socks, who knows?
Are you talking about here at the conference here?
Just yeah, in medical conferences.
Well, there's a
Sidebar.
hashtag, at least in PT, called Sock Mafia. I think it was started by Jerry Durham.
Yes.
Long time ago. And you take a picture of your really cool socks, and then you hashtag Sock Mafia. I don't know if any of you do that, but
I'm totally inspired. That's awesome. Yes. Honestly, I'm tired. What was the question again? I was like listening.
Yeah,
I was going like, I don't remember what the question is
So,
anymore.
Jenna, how did you learn how to promote yourself on social media?
How did I learn?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I was born in 1980. Everyone's calculating now. So for me, I mean, like I just got a cell phone in
last year.
right? I sometimes feel like that with the phone. No, I got a cell phone in college. Email was forced upon us in college. And I hated that cell phone so much. It was just like, people told me to get it, and then no one called me. I was like, this is stupid.
Was it a flip?
It was the flip. Of course it was a flip. Yeah. And I was like, what?
At least it wasn't a juke.
I think I used it most for like student health. But how did I learn? I learned initially, I mean, I've learned a lot more from fantastic people within the PT business. If you want to know, please private message me. But I learned, honestly, I was actually a little ahead of the game. I had a website when nobody had a website for performing. I was pushing to record sneakily, myself performing when we weren't allowed to. But I was like, well, how else am I going to get a gig when I'm in, Hodunk, Tennessee somewhere, and like I'm going to be missing audition season in New York. So I was literally just got really inventive with that and put together VHS tapes for submissions, which eventually switched to DVDs. And I remember and mailing out submissions. So I feel like I did it the more expensive way initially, but I got work. I remember all my cast members thought I was crazy, but it worked. And then slowly from social media, just transferring that over and making it cheaper. But I would say it was more self-taught because honestly, desire is what gets you somewhere. If you really want to know something, you Google it. And though Google wasn't a thing then,
Actually,
but like passion, that drive, that's what's going to get you there. And if you don't have the passion and drive, that's totally fine. Then maybe it's not for you, but I recommend anything you do, just love it, and that's how I learned. And
Great.
So I'm going to go a little kind of more the process technical aspect of it. So initially when I started getting on social media a little bit more, I kind of worked with someone to kind of streamline all my branding. So it made my personal page basically like a business page. It links to my business page, and everything kind of looked the same. So you can figure out like this person's about this business, and it all linked together really well. And so with that, I started just getting the post out. It kind of helped streamline everything. From there, I then kind of started working with someone else, and he's the one that kind of helped me with cleaning up my Instagram. And so I've had a lot of these mentors that I've worked with to really clean up know the social media aspect as far as you knew which hashtags are going to get me the best engagement. And So he kind of looks at those more aspects of it, which really helps grow a lot. And then as far as like I changed up my wording on how I introduce myself, kind of like Jenna was saying, like who you are and what you're about. And basically GT helped me kind of clean all that up and really get kind of my intro in there. And so people know like this is who I am and it's very consistent and they know who my audience is. They know who I'm addressing every time. And so just really cleaning up and streamlining everything has really gotten me the engagement, the kind of the engagement that has really boosted my business.
Awesome. And before we open it up to questions, Facebook, I know you're watching. Feel free to comment and ask questions.
Oh, I
and
can
if you're watching the replay, we'll check back later. Maybe Tom will check it.
Something with floors on. Oops.
Oh yeah, we're in the Jackson room, Andrew.
Look at you.
What's up, Andrew Tran?
Facebook Messenger, Andrew. Third floor. Jackson.
Okay, so,
He's like,
I guess the way we'll do it, since it's nice and small, just go ahead and stand up and feel free to, belt if you have any questions. Don't be shy.
oh yes,
Oh,
we
wow.
I didn't hear that much about LinkedIn. I was curious how much you guys interact with LinkedIn and use that as a platform.
Mm-hmm.
So the question for those of you on Facebook that maybe can't see
Oh,
the
yes,
audience
yes.
was about LinkedIn. Somebody's curious about that. So I utilize LinkedIn not as much as other platforms, but I focus LinkedIn on mostly very professional things. So I've been doing a lot of writing about advocacy lately, and any award that I get for the work that I do through Rehab Authority, the company that I work for, or through different things that I do through the APTA, I always post about that. So that is strictly professional posting. I don't ever post anything personal on my LinkedIn page. It's all very, very much related to things that I have done in my career that kind of go along with my CV. So that's what I utilize LinkedIn for the most part. I don't really get a lot of engagement on LinkedIn like I do other social media pages, and I don't know if it's because the PT world really isn't into the LinkedIn thing, and I'm not looking for a job, so it's not like I'm, out trying to reach out to different recruiters. I have recruiters try to friend me on LinkedIn all the time. So I think it kind of depends on where you're at. If you're looking for a job on LinkedIn, it's probably a great place to start as far as engaging with different companies that perhaps you would want to work for, or finding a recruiter if you want to do something like travel PT, or you're moving to an area maybe you're not familiar with. It's a great resource. But as far as meeting other professionals, it's really difficult, I think, to interact with people on LinkedIn. It's not as interactive as, say, Twitter or Facebook. You can do private messaging, but I don't really utilize that a lot. So that's my experience with LinkedIn.
Did that answer
Oh,
your
wait.
question?
Great. Let's let Strongman speak.
Yes.
I pretty much piggyback that. I use the other platforms primarily, but yeah, if I'm trying to reach out to professionals, that's when I'll go the LinkedIn route. But I also, besides just the PTs and medical professionals, I also follow different like small business owners and entrepreneurs on there too, just because there's so much to learn from so many different people that I'm starting to look on there a little bit more. I don't post a ton still, but I'll still look on there just to get more kind of just more of those little tips as far as small business and entrepreneurship goes, more so than the PT world.
Cool.
And to add on what Stephanie's stating about putting professional things on LinkedIn, and absolutely, it depends on what stage you are. If you're in that stage where you are looking for a job, LinkedIn is actually a good navigation in order to use that. There's certain tricks you could do. I took like a course where they just quickly educate you about like LinkedIn etiquette, but your LinkedIn is going to look completely different from your Facebook. So keywords in regards to like, don't put a whole paragraph about what you want for your job. Keywords, project manager, keywords, social media, digital marketer. Like put those keywords, because those are keywords that ping recruiters so they can be able to filter you and see what kind of jobs they want you to have within their company. So there is power within LinkedIn, depending on what stage you're in. My 43 year in the game physiotherapist, she's not rocking with LinkedIn as much because she's already established, but she is trying to utilize Facebook and other avenues like YouTube. I'm making her do YouTube, but other avenues like Facebook and YouTube to better get herself out there so her patients and future patients and past patients can still engage with her.
The only follow-up question I had is what about group? Effect on both LinkedIn and Facebook. You guys utilize it as a group and there.
Oh, do we?
Yes.
Yes. Groups. That's where it's at. That's where you can develop those relationships. You can really bring in people who are specifically interested in what you are interested in. Oh my gosh, you just like, woo, amen. Yeah.
I have 3 different groups on Facebook. I have
So you utilize Facebook groups a lot more.
yeah. I know,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
LinkedIn groups not so much, but Facebook, yeah, utilize those quite a bit.
I utilize both, mostly Facebook, but I do engage. The McKinsey Institute has a really great LinkedIn group that I follow. I don't really post a lot, but I definitely follow it to kind of see what other clinicians are doing with their McKinsey training. So I think that if you're looking for a very clinical side, that's a really great place to go. But Facebook, it's really nice to have a group of people. I think most of us here are part of the Women in PT Summit group, which has been really helpful. I know that most of us up here are part of what's the name of the group? I don't know what it is.
Because conference digital
No.
There's so many
Yeah,
groups.
There's
a lot of groups.
The SSPT group, which they talked about that in front of me for like 10 minutes. And finally, I just had to be like, okay, what does that stand for? I'm not familiar with that
Lack of
acronym.
emotional intelligence. Hashtag most EI.
I was beginning to think that maybe I was not up to date on like the LMAOs or any of those things. So, but yeah, so I think that they're both really, really great resources to connect with other professionals. And both LinkedIn and Facebook have clinical groups, as well as I think all APTA sections have their own specific groups on LinkedIn. So if you really want to engage with like the HPA section or the private practice section, then you can engage with the section on LinkedIn.
And with the groups, whether you're like the admin of that group or you're a participant or member in the group, it all goes back to the intent. So what is your intention with that group? Is your intention to put things on there weekly to educate your runners about making sure they have the proper shoes? Educating your runners this week, hey, do you know if you supinate or pronate? Like, do you know the difference between that? So it's by consistently putting things, and it doesn't have to be every day. It may be once a week. It just depends on what is your intention. What are you trying to do? Do you want to educate those runners to make sure they're not injuring themselves? Do you want to help out a college student who's super stressed and needs to work out and needs to try to make sure that they don't go crazy? So it's like, what is your intention? Because once you know that intention, that is going to be your catalyst to how you're serving them, how you're educating them about certain topics.
It's catalyst.
Cadillac? But yeah, so intention is the key thing with anything.
Yeah, actually, bouncing off Alicia, it's actually not really answering the question, but you hit upon a word that is so key.
My favorite.
Catalyst. No, consistency. Consistency. Whatever you do, be consistent. Make a choice. Be consistent. Not for a few weeks. Not for some sort of temporary thing. Like, do something where you're like, I can commit to this.
What if you have midterms?
Consistent. There's always a way. If you can, make it possible. If you have midterms, if you have exams, if you have, a hard time during the week, make it so no matter what the circumstance is, you can fit it in because it's going to be something that you are passionate about, and just consistent. Like, make that choice so that way people, without realizing it, they're going to be depending on you and ready for that information to become on a regular basis, even if you don't tell them what your posting schedule is.
Debbie. Carol, were you going to say something?
I was just wondering how much time you spend. The picture in my head is that I'm doing manual therapy with my right hand. I'm twiddling with my
Or you
I
can use
love
your,
that.
you can actually get your elbows in and have the
We gotta
computer
get
here.
So the question was for the people on Facebook who maybe can't hear the question was time. How much time do we spend on social media?
Great question.
That is a balance. I set a goal. So when I started doing social media for APTA for the education section, I set a goal that I would spend 15 minutes a day posting for the education section. So going with consistency. And then also setting aside a very specific amount of time that I was going to dedicate to it. That way I'm not sitting on my phone for like 40 hours, like posting stuff or reading Twitter. And then as personally, I think I struggle with that a little bit more. And I think most of us will admit that personal use of Facebook and social media is a little more difficult, especially at night as we're going to sleep and we scroll through Facebook and we scroll through Twitter. So the balance is putting aside time for your professional posts or the content that you want to put out to the audience that you are trying to reach. Setting aside time, like Jenna said, and that consistent time to be able to put out that content. And then whatever other time that you want to spend consuming social media, consuming what other people put out, that's kind of on your own time. But then at least you're following the rule of consistency. And you're also following the rule of making sure that you're not spending too much time, that you're able to, talk to your patient and do manual therapy with both of your hands versus manual therapy with one hand, and as you said, twittering with the other hand.
I'm going to tell my PC that. But yeah, and there's so many different things that you could do. I almost want to say hacks, but my mentor, Greg Todd, he shared, there's ways that you can utilize your time with social media. Like have a block of time where you're like, okay, let me schedule these posts so they can come out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm not doing that. It's all in the software as a system. As you learn to utilize social media, you learn different platforms and software that makes your life easier while you're here at CSM. You have a post that's still coming out because you've already pre-scheduled it. So there are different things you could do to be able to utilize your time so you can properly do manual therapy without doing Twitter or Facebook at the same time. But it's just learning those different softwares. There's so many out there. I feel like if I could say them, there's so many. They're not paying us. But there's so many different softwares out there. Just look for pre-scheduling social media outlets. Like what is something you can use? And they're free. Most of them are free.
My favorite one is TweetDeck if you are doing Twitter. That one's great because you can have multiple Twitter accounts on it and you can post at the same time to all your accounts or separately to each account. Plus you can see who's responding to you, who's interacting with you. You can see the feeds of everything. So TweetDeck is great. I really like that one. If you do have a group on Facebook or you run a page on Facebook, you can schedule posts.
Well, she's Twitter's.
Post very easily on Facebook to try to line up with. So for instance, with the education section, before I even came here, I posted very specific things that I knew were going to happen at very specific times so that when I was in the session, I could tweet about that, live tweet the session versus worrying about, I have to post about the business meeting that's coming up. I have to post about the Sarasoli lecture that's coming up. That was already set when I came to CSM. And since I've done that, I found that I spend a lot less time on social media while I'm at a conference and I'm able to engage in live interactions with people more. So I would recommend TweetDeck for Twitter, and then if you run a page on Facebook, then you can schedule posts that way. Other platforms or other ones I'm not familiar with, so you can ask these guys about that, or Google. Use Google.
Honestly, so you're not too overwhelmed, choose one social media platform. Facebook. It's the most populated. It's the most populated. It is the, if you were going to choose one to put all your energy with getting to know first, figuring out your time management, Facebook. It has free time scheduling for your posts. You can literally schedule months out all your stuff that you want to do, whether it be pictures or videos that you've created. That is definitely where I would start. And honestly, you could stick to just Facebook for a years and do well. That's what I did until I very recently started to expand, and I already learned that I actually had some sort of influence. I was like, what? So Facebook is extremely, extremely powerful. So don't worry. We're talking about all these other resources. You can add them in once you start to get more comfortable. But literally, that is, people are going on Facebook all the time. I've started a lot of group chats, or the beginning of the New York. Oh my goodness, New York Students Special Interest Group, when we started to co-found it, and we were trying to find different ways to communicate, and we're like, oh no, we can't do it on Facebook, it's not professional. I was like, dude, you guys, we're on Facebook all the time. We're going to be checking our messages anyway. And sure enough, like it was so much more brainless and easier to, it's just Facebook.
Oh, yeah. And I would also say it depends on who your target audience is. So I'm very fortunate. I literally work with people who are from middle school, because I'm a youth leader, all the way up to geriatrics at the clinic that I'm at. So it's very interesting when I talk about Facebook, because the grandparents and the parents are like, oh yeah, I love Facebook. Like, I'm Facebook friends with my friend's grandmother. So that tells you something about, if I'm in geriatric care, the certain target population I want to work with. My students, the middle and high school kiddos, they're on Snapchat consistently. I text one student to ask her something about her campus, because one of my clients went to know about a certain school. She did not text me back, but she Snapchatted me. Oh, Miss Felicia, da da da. I was like, did you not get my text message? But it all goes to what demographic is utilizing what social media outlet. So with that, I realized Facebook is, us as well, and geriatric and people who are a little bit older, Snapchat, the young adults, even us, millennials, and even some of the younger generation, like middle schoolers. My 12-year-old cousin has a Snapchat. She doesn't even have a phone. So I don't know how that works. But interesting. She's not on Facebook. I would call her out. But that's interesting. So know what demographic is utilizing a certain social media outlet, and tackle onto that for whatever information you want to share with them. It's pretty beneficial that way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so.
Do not mess with strongman.
True. No, but I want to piggyback her consistency comment a little bit and go just the discipline part of it. As far as it's essentially you can take as much time as you want on it, or as little time as you want on it. Take that 15 minutes to do your post, and then after that, it's like whether you want to spend 20 minutes checking into other people's stuff, you want to waste an hour, you want to waste 2 hours. If you set yourself just a time limit and stick to that time limit, you're golden. Like, I literally have a certain time of the day, that's when I check it, and then I don't check it again for another 24 hours, and then I'll just check it again that time frame, just because I know I don't have time to do it all the time. So that's just my set time. That's when I'm going to check Facebook, other than when I put my post up later. When I put my post up, I don't check any notifications. I don't touch it. I just put my post up and they go. So it's just getting that discipline of not letting yourself get sucked into everything that you could.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to close this out, because we're so grateful, so thankful to the private practice section who made this possible.
Yes, they did.
The space
Mm-hmm.
and this venue and making everything happen. But can we get a round of applause for the
Thank you for coming, everyone.
And let me just add, since PPS did sponsor this, let me just put a plug for PPS membership. If you aren't a member of the private practice section, it is an awesome resource. So a lot of the stuff that I've learned about marketing has come from the mentors that I've made in the private practice section. I joined as a third-year student. I went to a conference called the Graham Sessions, which is a conference that focuses on the future of physical therapy, and I was just blown away by the fact that there were all these great PTs that thought like me about the future of PT. And they were so welcoming with my ideas. They never told me I couldn't do anything. They told me I could do whatever I wanted if I had, the right mentors in place, if I had the determination. And a lot of them shared their experiences with me, and that has really helped me. So if you're looking for a great organization to be a part of and to be a part of a great culture, the private practice section is awesome. And they do offer memberships for students. If you can't afford the membership to the private practice section, a lot of times you can get a current PT member to sponsor you. So if money is an issue for you, please talk to me or talk to somebody that is on the board of directors, or I can connect you with them so that you can become a member of the section, because we need you to continue to grow what we're doing in PT.
Nice. Awesome. Woo! Thank you.
So we're gonna say bye to Tom.
Bye, Tom. Okay, so
Birthdays.
I hope I don't date myself,
Hi,
but
Kenny.
I like to scrapbook. So let's take a real quick picture. Okay, stand up, stand up, stand up.
Oh,
I scrapbook, I really do. Okay, we're gonna stand up real quick, and then we're gonna take a really big selfie. Can we use your phone? Because my phone's over there. We're gonna try to make this happen.
Brother selfie stick.
I know, right? Our arms. Actually, go ahead, migrate up just a little bit. Migrate, I know. Migrate, I know.
oh my
Real
gosh,
quick.
this is like
It's
we
like
get to
3 seconds.
participate at
I know, right?
discussions. This is so
We've been
fun.
sitting down like all day. It's not
All right,
good
I'm
for
gonna
you
end
to,
this.
like, tight so as